Mike Vrabel didn't hold back. In a stunning moment of live TV candor, he blasted Kevin Stefanski with a single phrase that's now ricocheting across the NFL. Gimmick coach. The swipe wasn't just personal, it was surgical. Vrabel zeroed in on Stefanski's reliance on pre-scripted plays that crumble under pressure and questioned the erratic quarterback decisions that have destabilized the Cleveland Browns. At the center of his frustration was Shedeur Sanders, a quarterback whose undeniable talent has been inexplicably shelved. Vrabel's takedown wasn't just criticism. It was a calculated rebuke that echoed what many around the league have been whispering.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
This moment has turned into a lightning rod for everything wrong in Cleveland. Stefanski's refusal to give Sanders consistent opportunities, paired with a playbook that fades fast under real-time pressure, is fracturing the team's chemistry and credibility. Whether it's ego, indecision, or strategic failure, the choices being made are compromising more than just wins. They're jeopardizing Cleveland's entire future under center. Mike Vrabel didn't just throw shade. He launched a missile. On live television, in front of NFL fans, analysts, and just about anyone paying attention to the Cleveland Browns' never-ending quarterback carousel, Vrabel openly called out Kevin Stefanski and dropped the phrase gimmick coach like it was a game-ending interception. This wasn't some subtle jab. This was a full-on, unfiltered takedown from a respected former head coach, and it sent shockwaves through the league. Vrabel's words weren't random. They were calculated, raw, and rooted in frustration shared by fans and insiders alike. He wasn't just venting about some failed trick play or a blown timeout. He was ripping into the very foundation of how the Browns are being run, especially when it comes to the quarterback situation, which is a mess on every possible level. And the lightning rod for all of this? The decision to bench Shedeur Sanders. Now, let's be clear, Sanders has shown undeniable talent. When he's on the field, there's energy, leadership, momentum. You can feel it. The guy brings life to an offense that's otherwise flatlining. So, when Stefanski pulled him for Dylan Gabriel, a rookie who's clearly not ready, it didn't just raise eyebrows. It raised alarms. This wasn't a strategic tweak. This was a move that made no football sense. Gabriel's performances have ranged from shaky to outright disastrous. Once the scripted plays dry up, and let's face it, they always do, he struggles to adjust. Defenses adapt, and Gabriel folds. The whole offense collapses like a cheap folding chair. And Stefanski? He just keeps doing the same thing. Again and again. That's why Vrabel's gimmick coach comment hit so hard. Because he said what everyone else was thinking. That this team, despite having the talent, is being sabotaged by a coach who's too stubborn or too proud to make the obvious call. Stefanski keeps doubling down on a game plan that clearly doesn't work. And it's costing the Browns, big time. Let's not forget, the NFL is watching. Analysts, former players, even rival coaches. They're all taking notes. And when someone like Vrabel speaks out, people listen. He didn't just call Stefanski out for fun. He did it because there's a growing sentiment that Cleveland's coaching staff is actively holding the team back. And it's not just about game planning. This is bigger than X's and O's. It's about trust. It's about ego. It's about a disconnect between what the locker room sees and what the coaching staff insists on doing. When Sanders gets sidelined without clear reasoning, it doesn't just affect him. It sends a message to the entire team. That performance doesn't matter. That playing politics is more important than winning games. And that's toxic. You can see it on the sidelines. The frustration. The body language. The visible tension between players. It's all there, plain as day. And if you're watching closely, you can feel the morale slipping. Game by game, week by week. Fans feel it too. Cleveland has one of the most passionate fan bases in the league. And right now, they're exhausted. Not because the team is losing games. They're used to that. But because the team is losing in ways that feel avoidable. The coaching decisions don't make sense. The talent is there, but it's not being used. Sanders is wasting valuable development time on the bench, while the team runs out the clock on a failed experiment. And don't think the media is sitting this one out. National coverage is turning up the heat. Analysts are calling out the inconsistencies. Articles are being written, and the calls for Stefanski's job are getting louder by the day. The longer this continues, the harder it becomes to defend any of it. This is a crisis, not just in terms of wins and losses, but in terms of identity. Because when a team can't trust its coach to put the best players on the field, everything falls apart. There's no culture, no direction, no buy-in. Players start checking out. Fans start tuning out. And ownership, they start asking uncomfortable questions. Like, why is a potential franchise quarterback riding the bench while the offense stalls out? Why are we ignoring what's happening on the field in favor of some stubborn commitment to a game plan that doesn't work? Why is Kevin Stefanski still in charge? And those questions are getting harder to answer. The NFL is not kind to coaches who can't adapt. Gimmicks and cute play designs might work for a quarter, maybe even a full game. But eventually, defenses figure you out. And if you don't adjust, you lose. It's that simple. Vrabel knows this. That's why he dropped the hammer. Because gimmicks don't build legacies. They build false hope. And that's exactly what Cleveland fans are dealing with right now. A coach who sold the idea of a system, but refuses to adapt when that system fails. A team with one of the most promising young quarterbacks in the league, and no plan to develop him. A locker room that's clearly frustrated, and a fan base that's losing patience. Stefanski's decision to keep Sanders sidelined is more than just a bad call. It's a message, and it's the wrong one. It says the staff is either blind to what's happening or unwilling to admit they're wrong. And that kind of pride, it kills seasons. It kills careers. And if left unchecked, it kills franchises. Right now, the Browns are teetering on that edge. And it's not just about this season. Every week that Sanders doesn't play is a missed opportunity. Every week of this quarterback shuffle chips away at the team's future. Quarterbacks don't grow by watching from the sidelines. They grow by playing through mistakes, learning the speed of the game, getting real reps. That's how you build for the long term. Instead, the Browns are squandering their shot. Stefanski might think he's playing it safe, that sticking with Gabriel or his original plan shows commitment. But what it really shows is fear. Fear of admitting the plan isn't working. Fear of making a change that could expose bigger issues. Fear of losing control. But control is already slipping. The fans see it. The players feel it. The media is reporting on it. And now, other coaches are talking about it. Loudly. Vrabel's comment wasn't just a critique. It was a warning. A signal flare that something is deeply broken in Cleveland. And unless things change fast, it's only going to get worse. This isn't about picking sides. It's not Sanders versus Gabriel. It's not Vrabel versus Stefanski. It's about seeing the obvious and doing something about it. It's about recognizing that talent, momentum, and opportunity are being wasted and calling out before it's too late. Right now, Cleveland is wasting time, wasting talent, wasting trust. And unless leadership wakes up and starts making decisions based on performance, not pride, this franchise is headed straight into another lost era. One where promising players fizzle out, coaches get replaced, and fans are left wondering how it all went so wrong again. So if you've been watching this play out and wondering if you're the only one losing your mind, you're not. The frustration is real. The problems are obvious, and the clock is ticking. Let me know what you think in the comments. Is Stefanski still the right coach for the Browns? Should Shedeur Sanders be starting right now? And how much damage has already been done? If you're into drama, meltdowns, and all the chaos the NFL keeps delivering, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We got a lot more mess to unpack. Because here's the thing. This is no longer just a quarterback controversy. This is a referendum on leadership. You don't bench your most dynamic offensive player and expect silence. You don't pull Shedeur Sanders, whose playmaking ability has been the only flicker of light in this dim Browns offense, and swap him for a rookie still trying to get his sea legs, without sending a clear message. We are not building for the future. We're doubling down on whatever ego trip is running this operation. And Mike Vrabel? He saw it for what it was. He didn't need a media-friendly filter. He called it gimmicky because that's what it is. Scripted plays that work for 2 drives, followed by sheer panic once defenses adapt. There's no plan B, no improvisation, no in-game flexibility. Just a stubborn insistence that this will work, even though it's not. That word, gimmick, hit like a slap across the face because it exposed something deeper. It wasn't just Stefanski's game plan that Vrabel was calling out. It was his identity as a coach, his refusal to adjust, his detachment from reality, the sense that Stefanski is coaching from a spreadsheet rather than watching the actual games unfolding in front of him. And what's worse, it doesn't feel like a one-time blunder. It's a pattern. Let's break it down. You have a fan base desperate for a franchise quarterback. You draft Shedeur Sanders, a player with charisma, athleticism, and a track record turning chaos into points. He's a leader. He's vocal. He's fearless. The kind of guy teammates rally around. Then what happens? You bench him. You bench him for Dillon Gabriel, a rookie who looks overwhelmed, underprepared, and painfully out of sync. Gabriel isn't the villain here. He's being asked to do something he's clearly not ready for. But Stefanski's decision to keep trotting him out while Shedeur rides the bench, that's malpractice. It's not just costing games. It's costing development. And development is everything when you're trying to build a winning team. The NFL isn't patient. If you don't seize the window, it's slammed shut. And right now, Cleveland is wasting theirs. Every week Sanders spends watching for the sidelines is another week of missed reps, missed reads, missed growth. This isn't college anymore. There are no redshirt years. You either put in the reps or you fall behind. The Browns aren't just stuck. They're actively backpedaling. And everyone can see it. Players, fans, analysts, and now, coaches like Vrabel who usually keep things close to the vest. You want to know how bad it is? Even the locker room is giving side eye. We've all seen the sideline shots. Players staring blankly at the field. Frustrated body language. Subtle but telling signs of doubt. The kind that say, we don't believe in what's happening out here. And you can't blame them. How do you buy into a system that sidelines your best shot at winning? The players know who should be starting. They see it in practice. They feel it in the huddle. Sanders brings a spark, a presence, something real. And watching that sit idle while the team flounders, that's demoralizing. You don't build unity when the team's best weapon is benched for strategic reasons that no one can explain. And speaking of explanations, where are they? Stefanski hasn't given a compelling reason for why Sanders isn't a starter. No transparency. No accountability. Just vague coach speak and a quiet hope that no one notices. But people are noticing. And not just fans on Twitter. National analysts, reporters, former players. Everyone is asking the same question. What is going on in Cleveland? There's no bigger red flag than silence. When a coach refuses to explain a move that everyone's questioning, it usually means one of two things. Either they don't have a good reason or they know the truth won't land well. And the truth? It probably has more to do with pride and control than football. Because admitting that Sanders is the better option now would mean admitting that sticking with Gabriel for this long was a mistake. And Stefanski doesn't seem ready to wear that. He's more committed to defending the plan than fixing it. And that's dangerous. In the NFL, loyalty to the wrong plan is the fastest path to unemployment. But it's not just Stefanski's job that's at stake. It's the trajectory of the entire franchise. You only get so many chances to build something special. And right now, the Browns are fumbling theirs one stubborn decision at a time. What happens if this drags on for the rest of the season? What happens if Sanders keeps sitting while Gabriel burns out under the weight of something he's not ready to carry? That's how locker rooms split. That's how fans check out. That's how players start calling their agents in the offseason. Because no one wants to stay in a situation where common sense gets ignored. And for Sanders, this could derail his entire arc. Young quarterbacks need support. They need smart coaching, meaningful reps, and a system built to their strengths. Right now, Sanders is getting none of that. And that's a tragedy waiting to happen, not just for him, but for a franchise that keeps tripping over its own potential. Let's be real. Cleveland hasn't had quarterback stability in decades. They've gone through starters like tissues. Finally, they draft a guy who shows something, a spark, a skill set, a personality, and they bury him. That's not just frustrating. That's dysfunctional. And dysfunction doesn't stay quiet for long. The media is already circling. Headlines are getting louder. The conversation is shifting from what's wrong with the Browns to should Stefanski still be coaching them? That's a brutal pivot, but it's one that's been earned. Vrabel didn't just blow off steam. He pulled a fire alarm. His words were blunt, but they came from a place of knowing what it takes to run a team. And he saw through Stefanski's act immediately. The gimmicks, the denial, the overcomplication. It's all noise covering a deeper issue. A coach in over his head, clinging to a plan that's failing in real time. So what now? The only way out of this is honesty, accountability, a full recalibration. That means admitting the Gabriel experiment has run its course. That Sanders deserves the keys to the offense. That the plan needs to change, now, not later. Because if the Browns keep waiting, they're not just risking a bad season. They're risking the next 5 years. This isn't panic. This is reality. And Cleveland fans have seen this movie too many times. The promising draft pick that goes undeveloped. The stubborn coach who refuses to adjust. The meltdown that feels inevitable. Well, this time, there's still time to rewrite the ending. But only if leadership has the guts to act, to listen, to put ego aside, and do what's best for the team, not what's best for the coaching resume. Because here's the ugly truth. If Shedeur Sanders had been given the same leash as Gabriel, this conversation might not be happening. We might be talking about a breakout rookie season, about the Browns building something exciting, about a future. Instead, we're talking about dysfunction, about wasted talent, about a team on the verge of collapse, and a coach losing the benefit of the doubt. So now we wait to see if Stefanski finally gets it, to see if Sanders finally gets the chance he's earned, and to see if the Browns can salvage a season that's spiraling toward disaster. And if you're still wondering why this whole thing has blown up the way it has, why Vrabel's one-liner about Stefanski being a gimmick coach became the talk of the league, it's because it wasn't just an insult, it was an indictment. It cut through every carefully worded press conference, every vague injury update, every coach speak deflection we've heard from Cleveland this season. It said what fans have been screaming from the stands and into the void of. Social media for weeks now, this isn't working. And no one seems willing to admit it. Let's be honest, coaches rarely come for each other like this. There's usually a silent code of respect, or at least a mutual understanding to keep things diplomatic, especially in public. But Vrabel, he tossed that code out the window. And he didn't mince a single syllable. Because when you're watching a team like the Browns, who should be competitive, fall apart because of stubborn coaching choices and mismanagement of talent, it gets under your skin. And it's not just annoying, it's insulting to the game. You can't talk about player development while stapling your most promising quarterback to the bench. You can't say you're building for the future while trotting out a QB who looks completely out of his depth. You can't keep hiding behind buzzwords and expect people to swallow it. Not anymore. And you know what else? The fans aren't dumb. They've seen enough quarterback flameouts in Cleveland to know what dysfunction looks like. They watch the cycle repeat over and over again. Flash a little hope, destroy it with bad decisions, start over, rinse, repeat. So when they see Shedeur Sanders get benched without a clear reason, they're not just frustrated, they're furious. Because this time was supposed to be different. This was supposed to be the turning point, the fresh start, the guy with it. But instead, here we are again, talking about confusion, chaos, missed potential, and a head coach who seems more committed to defending his decisions than correcting them. And that's what makes this whole mess so hard to watch. Because it didn't have to be this way. There's a version of this season, one that feels so close yet so far away, where Sanders starts, struggles, learns, and grows into the kind of player who can actually lead this team into the future, where the offense is built around his strengths instead of plugging him into a system designed for someone else, where the coach adapts to his players, not the other way around. But instead, we got a head coach who seems allergic to adaptation, who's so wrapped up in the process that he's forgotten the whole point is to win games, and not in theory, not on paper, but on the field. And every week that goes by without Sanders starting is another missed opportunity, not just to develop a quarterback, but to unite a team, to re-energize a fan base, to give everyone something to believe in. Instead, What we're watching is a slow-motion unraveling. A team that looks lost, a locker room that seems splintered, and a coach who appears more isolated by the day. That's the real story here. Not just that Stefanski made a bad decision, but that he keeps making it, that he refuses to adjust, that he's letting his pride sink the ship while the rest of the league watches from the lifeboats. Vrabel didn't just throw a jab. He held up a mirror, and what it reflected was uncomfortable. Because when a coach known for toughness and discipline calls you out publicly, it's not for drama. It's because he sees something broken that no one else is fixing. The question now is, will anyone inside the Browns organization listen? Or will they keep pretending the noise isn't getting louder? That the locker room isn't frustrated? That the fans haven't had enough? Because this isn't just about one game or one season. It's about whether this team is serious about building something sustainable or just another chapter in Cleveland's never-ending story of wasted potential. If you've been following this saga from the start, you know the drill. But this time it's different. The stakes feel higher. The criticism is sharper. And the spotlight? It's burning hot. So what happens next? That depends on whether Kevin Stefanski is ready to swallow his pride and make the right call, or whether he's going to ride this gimmick train all the way off the tracks. And hey, if you got thoughts, frustrations, or predictions, drop them in the comments. I want to hear it all. Who should be starting? What would you do if you were in that locker room? And is it already too late to salvage this mess? Make sure to like, share, and subscribe if you're into watching coaching chaos in real time, because this saga is far from over. The Browns might be out of answers, but we'll be here to break down every twist in the drama. See you in the next one.